Have you heard? Mr. Edgar's been detained. He's being taken away tomorrow.
What? He's the one who helped craft all the fragrances for our shop.
He taught my child how to make perfume. How could this happen?
He hasn't been convicted yet. Let's just wait and see what the court has to say.
Oh, everyone on the street is talking about the rumors. No matter where Kiri is hiding, he must have heard them by now. Let's head back to the hotel and take a break. We can see how the other preparations are going while we're at it.
Emily! Sheriff Xian wants to talk to you and the Traveler about our plans for the Night Watch.
Thank you, Kale. But first, here, I prepared a kind of herbal tea that helps calm the spirit. Why don't you have some?
Oh, that's very kind of you, but I'm okay.
Oh, it's not good to be so tense, especially when we've got a long night ahead of us. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I couldn't help but notice that something seems to be on your mind.
Was it that obvious?
You seem very preoccupied with Kiria's revenge. If there's anything you want to talk about, I'm happy to listen.
Oh,
Hey, Emily, Kale. Oh, are we interrupting something?
No, not at all. This will be easier to talk through with you here anyway. I've just been thinking, if Kiria has the capacity to commit murder while remaining completely undetected, why didn't he target Sylvain along with Lucien last night? There was just a single door separating them. If his intention was to target both brothers, then there was barely anything standing in his way. Don't you think? When I accompanied Sylvain to his room after Lucien died and saw how distraught he was, I suddenly realized, maybe Kiria did that on purpose. Maybe he wanted Sylvain to experience the pain of losing a loved one before he completed his ultimate revenge.
So did he attack Edgar as a warning then? To scare Sylvain and Lucien?
Based on what we've heard about Kiria, that may very well be the case.
Losing his sister all those years ago. What has been going through his head? What has he been forced to endure? Whenever I get to thinking like that, I just can't help but wonder. If I were in his place, would I be able to let go of that hatred? I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't think like that. Not after everything he's done. But I just can't help it.
There's nothing wrong with the way you're feeling. Empathy is a part of human nature. In all my years of cleaning up crime scenes, I've witnessed countless families mourn their loved ones. Their cries of devastation and anger still echo through my mind, even now. Some of them even try to stop me, begging me not to erase the last remnants of their loved ones. But getting swept up in those emotions will corrupt your judgment. Surround yourself with fragrance for too long, and your sense of smell will become dull. Allow yourself to be consumed by your emotions, and you lose the ability to think rationally. So while you hold on to that sense of empathy, you also need to ask yourself, do Sylvain and Lucien really deserve to die? How much did they truly know about the Fatui and the delusion? Did they force Yelena to make those decisions? Answering those questions requires a lot of time and evidence, while a single act of vengeance can put those answers forever out of our reach. I've witnessed a lot of deaths in Fontaine. When someone dies, a certain amount of information can be inferred from the traces left behind at the scene. But generally speaking, death will just leave most questions unanswered, and the whole picture ever incomplete.
Once you're consumed by hatred, it will become next to impossible to think about things that way. For someone like Kiria, I'm sure right and wrong lost all meaning a long time ago.
You're right. The fact that we can approach these questions from this perspective isn't because we're more rational than them. It's because we're fortunate enough not to have suffered that kind of loss. But that also makes us perfectly positioned to stand on the outside and try to pull them back from the brink before it's too late. I understand Kiria's decision, but I still want to stop him. Master, Sylvain, and Kiria. They all deserve to survive.
The fortunate and the unfortunate.
Emily, Traveler. Huh? Edgar, you're here too?
Oh, it's you two! Didn't you head back to your room to rest, Edgar? Is it really okay for you to be out and about like this?
A little exercise never hurt anyone. Besides, I don't have much time left in Sumeru. So I'd like to take care of my plants while I still can.
We could do that for you, Master.
No need. I've grown attached to these flowers, and this is my last chance to say goodbye. Come tomorrow. I'll be happy to entrust their care to you. I would imagine Sheriff Sham is here for a more important reason.
The Night Watch! You mentioned earlier that we still need to confirm our plans.
That's right. I've stationed some of my men around the surrounding area, but we still don't have anyone standing guard next to Sylvain's room. Exactly. After some discussion, we concluded that Sylvain has the highest risk of being attacked next. You're the most skilled fighter here, Traveler. And Emily's expertise is sure to come in handy in a pinch. That's why I want you two stationed next to Sylvain's room. So, are you up for it?
Sounds perfectly reasonable. I'll be glad to have your help tonight, Traveler.
Not a peep. Has Kiria given up on his revenge? Guess we'll have to keep at it. Still nothing unusual. Paimon took a peek into the room next door and Sylvain's already sleeping.
Perhaps Kiria's true motive was simply forcing Sylvain to confess his crimes. No, that can't be right. If all he wanted was for Sylvain to be convicted for his true crimes, he could have tipped off the Marechaussee Phantom years ago. There must be something we're missing. Something extremely important.
Maybe we just need to calm down a little. How about some tea? That herbal blend from earlier was pretty tasty. You're right. Maybe we can look for a different distraction then, like looking at the flowers. Oh, there's a glaze lily here. Paimon didn't notice it earlier.
Flowers, glaze lilies, incense. Oh no! Sylvain's room! Quick!
Wait, what?
Hey, did you hear? Someone was attacked again last night.
It was the older of the merchant brothers, right?
Yeah, I think his name was Sylvain. Poor guy was murdered in cold blood.
First it was Mr. Edgar, then that merchant named Lucian, and now this.
Listen up, everyone. This is an active crime scene. Please, no loitering.
It's been 3 days and they haven't even caught a glimpse of the guy. What is going on?
Do you think it could be the work of an evil spirit? I mean, how do you get away with something like that with so many people watching?
Keep it moving, everyone. No loitering.
I suppose I'm next.
You don't know that, Kyria already attacked you once, and you survived. Perhaps he doesn't consider your crime to be worthy of death.
You were the only reason I managed to survive, Emily. I never did thank you for that, did I?
Even if I wasn't there, Tainari was also in the vicinity. He would have been able to help.
Is that so? I suppose I'm a very fortunate person then. I have exceptional students, caring friends, and the respect of my peers. If it is indeed my time to go, then I'll die without regrets. But Kyria has nothing. Yelena is gone. Now his enemies are too. It really makes you wonder if there's even a reason to keep on living.
If you really want an answer, I suppose you'll have to ask Kyria himself once we finally catch him.
Well, I hope it all goes well. Emily, there's something else I'd like to ask of you. With everything that's happened, holding the exhibition is off the table now. But so many flowers were transported here for the show, some of them thousands of miles away from their homeland. I can't let them wither away with no one to care for them. Whether Kyria gets to me first, or I'm sent back to Fontaine to stand trial, I won't be around to look after them. I know it's a lot to ask, but could I entrust them to your care?
Of course, Master.
Really? Oh, I'm glad to hear it. Now I truly have nothing to worry about.
Sheriff Sham still has some questions for me, so I've gotta go.
Go ahead. Best not to keep him waiting. He can be quite impatient.
I'm sorry, Master.
Emily still isn't back. I hope she didn't run into any trouble. Yeah, that's true.
Traveler, I had my men start spreading the information you requested. The crowd is gone now too, but I have to admit, I'm not really sure what's going on. After listening to Emily's plan, I started getting the materials together and arranging personnel. I barely had a second to spare last night. To be honest, I'm still not sure how the crime was committed that night.
The key clue was right in front of us the entire time! Let's go! We'll show you where the culprit hid a goose. This is it!
The glazed lily, huh? I think I've heard of it before. It's a flower from Liyue, right?
Well, did you know it only blooms at night?
Emily, you're back!
Exactly as expected.
A flower that only blooms at night. Ah, like the Neelitpala lotus.
Exactly. Although the Neelitpala lotus wouldn't be a good substitute in this scenario. When it's closed, the gaps between the petals are too large. That's why Kyria chose the glaze lily as his mechanism. He would start by preparing an agouti sample.
There's a sticky substance on the edge of the flower petals. It's one I recognize. If you stick the petals together with slime condensate, then, in the daytime, the glaze lily would act almost like a hidden container.
That's right! He applied a diluted form of slime condensate to the petals to stick them together and enclosed a sample of agouste in the center. That way, the agouste would remain trapped inside during the daytime, unable to seep between the petals and evaporate into the air. This also allowed the culprit to plant the poison well in advance while his targets remained oblivious. However, the diluted slime condensate wouldn't be viscous enough to prevent the petals of the glaze lily from opening at night. So by nightfall, the flower would bloom, thereby forcing the target to inhale the agouste trapped inside.
And Kyria could execute his revenge without having to step foot inside the room during the night.
By the next morning, the sample of agouste would have nearly fully evaporated. The glaze lily would have already closed its petals, and any lingering odor would be concealed by the fragrance of the other flowers in the room.
Wait a second. You're telling me this version of agouste is so toxic, inhaling the minute amount trapped inside a flower is enough to kill a grown man? And how did Edgar even survive ingesting a whole bottle of the stuff?
That's because agouste is just as dangerous now as it was all those years ago. The level of toxicity has never changed. Only a small subset of people are truly at risk.
Ah, you mean people who are sensitive to elemental energy. So it's just some sort of happy coincidence that Sylvain and Lucien are allergic to the stuff? That can't be right. They were involved in the operation all those years ago. If the stuff gave them a bad reaction, they would have known from the very start.
I wouldn't use the word allergic necessarily. It's more like they're susceptible to its effects. But that distinction isn't important right now. You can think of it this way. It's not that Sylvain and Lucien are innately sensitive to elemental energy, but that Kyria found a way to ensure that they would be.
The incense I smelled earlier seemed familiar. Thinking back on it, I'm almost certain it was the scent of spirit borneal. In Sumeru, scholars use spirit borneal to aid meditation and stimulate their connection to the Dendro Archon.
Alchemically produced essential oils, the primordial seawater that caused unrest in Fontaine not too long ago. All of those are substances that can heighten your sensitivity to elemental energy.
That stuff gave us a lot of trouble when we first came to Sumeru.
Ah, yes. I definitely remember that.
In Sumeru, it's not uncommon to use incense indoors, so its presence wouldn't arouse suspicion. The flowers in the room could also serve to mask the scent.
Flowers were pretty important to this plan, huh? The glaze lily is native to Liyue. It would be completely unnatural to have one here in Sumeru if it weren't for the exhibition. What a coincidence.
Actually, it's not a coincidence at all.
No wonder he was willing to pay a small fortune to rent out the hotel.
He probably used the mora Yelena left him, don't you think? That money was supposed to set him free. But in the end, it was just a tool for his revenge.
There's a saying among forensic doctors in Fontaine. Every step you take leaves a mark. But up until this point, we haven't been able to detect any trace of Kyria's activities. That's not because he was coming and going undetected, or because he's some kind of evil spirit, but because he's been disguised as someone else this entire time.
Creating such an intricate mechanism out of a glaze lily, setting up the spirit borneal in advance, and arranging for Sylvain and Lucien to stay at the hotel. It all points to one person, the expert in charge of the entire exhibition. Kyria and Edgar. are one and the same.
But Kiryu was only in his teens back then. He wouldn't even be 40 years old by now. Edgar's lived here for so many years. Even if he changed his appearance, going that long without giving anything away, it would be impossible.
Bad news, Sheriff! Mr. Edgar was attacked!
What?
A dark shadow-like figure just ran out of his room. It was giving off a really ominous aura. But before we could even react, the figure up and disappeared like some sort of ghost or something. By the time we got a look inside the room, Mr. Edgar was gone! Do you think Kiria kidnapped him?
I need you to think very carefully about this. Are you certain that figure wasn't Edgar himself?
I mean, Mr. Edgar was so frail. I don't see how he could have moved that fast.
It would seem Master decided to tap into an ill-advised source of power.
What? But that's so dangerous with the condition he's in. It's...
But why? Why would he do that? He's already accomplished his revenge.
No. If his aim was to target everyone who had a hand in Yelena's death,
If he left Sylvain alive yesterday, not out of a desire to see him suffer, but to confirm the truth about why Yelena chose to die,
then there's still one target left.